Chapter 8. Olympia, Minnie, and Bee forget all about how they are chickens and how they're supposed to be laying eggs. And now we have nothing to trade for the few groceries that Mirabelle wants to buy at Evangeline's store. So Mirabelle comes up with another idea. It'll be like we're trading eggs, only you can go to Evangeline's and say you'll sweep the floors if she'll give us some flour and sugar and maybe some coffee on credit. Mirabelle is telling me this while she's frying up the last of the salt pork. We've not heard from Papa, and the salt pork and the one old ham butt is all that's left in the smokehouse. Mirabelle has a big frown mostly all the time. Is that all you got? She says when she notices the bucket of strawberries I put on the table. I've been burying in the hot morning sun trying to keep away from yellow jackets. That's all there were, Bertie starts, tugging on my dress as soon as Mirabelle says Evangeline's name because she likes the lemon drops so much. Are you sure that's all there were? Mirabelle is checking my face for lying. I'm not Ivy, I say. That's all there were. I sit down on the chair and look at my feet, no shoes all summer. I don't want to go to Evangeline's and ask for credit. Papa doesn't do that, I tell Mirabelle. Don't Papa me, she says. We haven't heard from him in weeks, and we need credit until we hear from Eleanor. I tell Mirabelle that we do not need Aunt Eleanor. Mirabelle tells me I'm too big for my breeches. I tell her I'm not wearing breeches, I'm wearing a dress. Then I scoot Bertie out the door and tell Peter and Ivy we have to all go to Evangeline's. As we're hurrying down the driveway, Olympia, Minnie, and Bee are sunning themselves on the manure pile. I tell them they better stop lazing around and get to laying some eggs or they'll get the what for as soon as I get home. Evangeline is looking like she's not used to people asking her for credit, but I know folks are asking her for it all the time, now that half the men in our store are working on roads for President Roosevelt. It's hard now for everybody. She's rubbing her forehead. We're standing beside big bags of flour that nobody bought yet. That can't be good, to have flour that nobody wants. I look at her, the lemon drops in the candy case. When you have flour you can't sell, you can't be giving away lemon drops either. I don't know about credit, Evangeline says, coming around closer to us. Where's Mirabelle? Home, I tell her. Home because she hasn't had a minute off her feet all day. That's what she told us to say. Ivy walks off to check where the movie magazines are, and Bertie is off in her far-off place, looking at the lemon drops. I'd like to help you children, really I would, but it's getting really hard for me now, too. But we're really good sweepers, I tell her, and our Papa promised to send money soon. Mirabelle says she'll pay you as soon as we hear from Papa. While Evangeline goes through her head thinking about what she should do, Becky Ellis and her mother walk in, and Bertie takes one look at them and runs over to hide behind me. The Ellis family can do that to a person. Becky sticks her nose straight in the air when she sees me and I hope it gets stuck way up there. Then she gives her nose a pinch, like something in the store smells really bad, probably me. I look Becky in the face and let all those times Papa told us about kindness and compassion and treating others the way you want to be treated rush right out the window, and I stick my tongue out at her. It feels almost as fine as having a cool, sweet lemon drop in my mouth. That's when Evangeline brings up the subject of our credit again, and now I wish she would forget the whole thing. What do you need again? asks Evangeline. Lemon drops, whispers Bertie, tugging on my arm. Flour, I say, my voice all balled up inside of me, and sugar and maybe some coffee and a lemon drop for Bertie. Then Evangeline sighs and turns and whispers to Miss Ellis that she can't very well let Sylvie's children go hungry, poor things, and then she tells me to go to the brooms in the back of the closet and get to work. Miss Ellis is looking at our bare feet. Maybe I should not have run through so many puddles on the way here. I want to pull Becky's tie-up shoes and her stockings right off her feet. Then I notice Bertie's feet. She jumped in every single puddle, and her feet, as tiny and perfect as a sparrow's, are dirtier than mine. I take her hand and pull her away from those Ellis eyes and go get the brooms. Becky's mama keeps writing letters to very important people, telling them we still don't have a teacher way up here. Times are hard, and the important people keep telling her, my daughter can't grow up without a proper education, she tells us all. And after she says this about a dozen Sundays in a row while standing up in her fancy box pew in front of everybody at church, you can tell people are surely kind of embarrassed and shameful over our situation. But knowing at the same time that most of the men are gone now and how the rest of us need to work together because of how bad things are getting, we tell ourselves that there will be time for school when times are better. Our schoolhouse has been all boarded up for more than a year now, ever since Miss Moran told us that she was going as far away from our town as she could get. Maybe California is the last thing she said before she hurried away. I was so happy when she left that I did cartwheels all the way to the upper field, and Anna May wanted to know why I wasn't walking on my feet the way the Lord intended. My papa said things are no better in California. It's bad everywhere. We're luckier than most way up here because we all have a cow in the field and chickens in the coop and apples on the tree and peas and corn and potatoes in the garden. He stood up in church one Sunday before he left and faced us all. There's a colored lady teaching school 4 towns over. That's what I've heard. If we're lucky, maybe she can find us someone who would come out here as soon as the hay is in and teach the children through the winter. Miss Ellis jumped up so fast you would have thought she was sitting on something. You are all backwater people without a whit of sense. That's why no one decent wants to come to teach us. And we certainly aren't going to improve our situation by having a colored teacher in our town. I'm ready to send my girl to Boston where they know how to educate children properly. She looked at Becky, with her hair all curled and her shoes all shining, and Becky grinned. Papa said under his breath that might not be a bad idea. I miss my papa very much. I give Peter a broom and tell him to sweep the porch on Evangeline's store, and I give Ivy a broom and tell her to sweep in the front. She takes one look at it and tells me she is not sweeping up this dirty old floor, and she stomps off and goes over by the table where Evangeline keeps movie mirror magazines. But there are none. I see her looking at her dress and at the holes that run through it, and then over at Becky, who's wearing a new dress, so new it still has a pin sparkling near the hem that her mama must have forgot. I hope Becky gets pricked hard. She serves her right when the rest of us are wearing the same handing me down forevers we always get. I take Bertie's hand and we sweep over by the wood stove that heats the store in winter, and Bertie keeps asking me if I think we'll get some lemon drops. I tell her sometimes you get things you wish for. You really do. Life is like that sometimes. I sweep all along the wooden floor and beneath the shelves that hold flour and laundry soap and bluing rinse. There are kerosene lanterns and dustpans hanging on big hooks, and china dishes stacked on the table beside cups and bowls, and 50-pound bags of sugar beside a barrel of sauerkraut and a barrel of pickles. Mrs. Ellis is looking over dress fabric while Zella Polansky walks in. She lives up the road and must have seen Miss Ellis out walking. Then Miss Riley comes. They are just like Minnie and Olympia and Bee. When one comes, they all come running. Now all they need is a manure pile. They stand up by the fabric, whispering, and pretty soon Evangeline walks over to talk to them all. Have you heard? What? Asked Miss Ellis. They were to be married this morning. He went down to the train station to pick her up, and they were to be married, all without barely knowing each other. She's from Mississippi, you know. What would anyone want to come way up here for? Says Zella. Especially to marry that man, says Mrs. Ellis, and I do not even have to hear another word to know who it is they are talking about. Oh, come now, ladies, says Evangeline. He's been without a wife for so many years. Surely he deserves a little happiness. I don't know who would want him, though, says Miss Riley. I bet he hasn't cut his hair in 6 months. Or shaved, laughs Zella. I stand there sweeping, wondering who would want old Mr. Jolly when he can't even take care of a cow. We'll find out soon enough, says Miss Evangeline. She starts packing up our flour and sugar and a little coffee. Bertie is mooning over the lemon drops so bad I think her face is going to fall off. Miss Ellis pulls a grape pot from the icebox, opens it on the bottle opener that's nailed to the wall, and hands the bottle to Becky. We all just about faint from looking at the fizzing purple as Becky holds the bottle up to the sun. Then she smiles over at us, puts it up to her mouth, and takes a huge gulp. The electric is coming, Becky tells me after she drinks half her pop. We are the only family on our road that's getting the electric and the telephone at the same time. Then she takes another gulp. And if I still prayed to the angels, I would pray for something very bad to happen to her. Evangeline notices too. And then she pulls a small bag of lemon drops out of the basket and drops it in my hand. And I pass the candies out, and I think about how life is like that sometimes. Sometimes you do get what you hoped for.